Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court was already potentially imperiled by one person accusing him of sexual misconduct. Republicans in the Senate thought they had found a way forward to both let this woman share her story, let Kavanaugh defend himself, and then move forward on Kavanaugh's nomination. On Sunday, everything got roiled by an accusation from a second woman accusing him of sexual misconduct when they were classmates at Yale University. Deborah Ramirez told The New Yorker that while she and Kavanaugh were drinking heavily at a party, he exposed himself to her. She acknowledges there are gaps in her memory, but says she remembers another student shouting Kavanaugh's name after the alleged incident and thinking she saw Kavanaugh yank up his pants. With the second accusation, Senate Democrats want the whole nomination paused for some kind of law enforcement investigation or for the Senate to take more time to look into this. It's totally unclear what Republicans will do, and honestly, they don't have a lot of good options. They could start a campaign to try to question Deborah Ramirez's allegations. Kavanaugh himself denies them and says it's a smear. But if Republicans go with a concerted effort to try to question Ramirez, they risk coming across even more insensitive than some already have toward Kavanaugh's first accuser, Christine Blasey Ford. Another option Republicans have is to proceed as normal with the first allegation, hearing Ford out. It risks making them look like they're just going through the motions if they hear from one woman but not another. Republicans have two other options that they're really hesitant to take on. One is to acquiesce to an FBI investigation into both accusations. But that would undermine Republicans' argument they made all last week that the Senate is the best place to deal with this because senators are the ones who vote on who gets on the Supreme Court. The last option Republicans have is one they really don't want to take. It would be to listen to Democrats and essentially pause Kavanaugh's nomination. But that would be like a gut punch to Republicans' conservative base voters. Republicans control all of Washington right now. They have this golden opportunity to firm up the Supreme Court's conservative majority, and here they are, unable to do it weeks before an election where their base would certainly remember that failure. So because there's so much up in the air for Senate Republicans and not a lot of great options, just a couple senators could sway this whole process. I'd keep an eye on people who aren't necessarily committed to voting for Kavanaugh after the first accusation. That's Senator Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and Jeff Flake of Arizona, and possibly Bob Corker of Tennessee. What do these Senate Republicans do now that there's a second accusation? Also keep an eye on the White House and how closely they stand by Kavanaugh. But it's entirely possible the White House decides that all of this is just too much trouble to get Kavanaugh on the court, especially when there are any number of other conservative nominees they could try to push on. The problem is that Republicans are up against the clock. They really want to get this vacancy filled before November's midterm elections. Otherwise, if they lose the Senate, they risk losing control of this process entirely.